Good evening once again. We are very happy to be in this familiar place with some of the familiar people we know. And we would like to thank you especially to our host who is making these invitations, both side invitations, possible. Thank you. You have been gently introduced to what is happening, the process of channeling, and we would like to extend the knowledge from our side. We don't carry name from our own culture, but on your world you are calling us the Pleiadians. Let's say you would find us. You would find our location in the constellation you call the Pleiades. If you know your sky, we are in the belly of the Taurus, in the constellation of the Taurus. And this is simply a name we are having here, but it doesn't necessarily tell much about who we are and why we are here and why we are doing these connections, these life connections. As you heard part of the stories, we are beings, we are non-physicals. A long time ago we have somehow lost the need to have a physical body. The physicality became unnecessary for us, for our growth. We have let the physical bodies and physical planets and physical ships behind and moved into spaces which are softer, are of different vibrations. And then we have established ourselves as you would say guides or watchers. We are also called watchers to different worlds, and you are one of those worlds. And this physical body, this vehicle, as we often call, is not the only one on your world we are being in touch with. We have been here for thousands and thousands of years, always in touch with your people, with your world, because partially what you are experiencing now is coming from what we used to have, our own physical DNA. Part of our structure is now running through your veins. That's why we are very interested in your development and the way how you are handling your lives, because it ties to ours as well. Our reason for helping out simply could be said, could be described as, if we help you, we help us as well. Even though we are not physical beings, we still experience our challenges. We experience, let's say, some difficulties in our world as well. And one of those primary reasons to help others is to create more balance and stable energies, which are then touching our world as well. A little bit more about the more mechanical part of what you are perceiving right now. Simply said, this body was for a moment, brief moment, let's say not really emptied, but we were allowed to take certain control over the mechanics of the spiritual side of the being, and we have been, after a long time, borrowed a body as well, even though we don't necessarily all of us fit in, of course. We are expressing ourselves through words, which would not be possible if we only stayed as spiritual beings somewhere else up there far away. That's why channeling must contain the part of someone from the inside, someone who can very automatically translate energy into words which is understandable to the others. To understand the concept we are describing, we need to be in touch with you in order to be really in touch with your world. There will be no point in making connections from us as non-physicals to your world. That's why channeling simply happens in a way of us connecting very strongly in the energetical aspect of a human body, which then automatically describes the full experience as what you see right now. So, we are hoping and we are intending for great conversation with you, both side conversation, and we would like to invite you to ground yourself first. Don't think so much about what is happening if you believe it, how much it may and may not be true. Take it as it is, whatever it may be. We are not pushing our truth on you. We are not saying that whatever we are saying is the only truth you need to believe. Put your feet on the ground and just feel yourself in the body. Feel yourself in your own body. How nice is it to say that? You appreciate those moments when you really tune into your own body. As for you, in your own experience, is the only place where you as a holistic being should be. Your soul is, for this lifetime, of course, for this lifetime, your soul is chosen to be in the body. So don't let it run away by being too much in your mind and letting your psyche take over a concept, what is true and what isn't. Be in your body and see how it feels to be right now with your friends, sitting beside each other, observing what's happening here, maybe judging a little bit, maybe not, trying to figure it out, trying to see what's going to happen. And take a deep breath. We intend for discussion which will be mainly coming from your side, whether you have an observation or a question or a comment. We ask you to be bold and ask. Before we go any further, we will let you understand some parts of our agenda, let's say, using the term very loosely. As we have said, we are in contact with your world through several, let's say, several hundreds of people who are allowing these connections to happen, who are allowing. You are all psychic, you are all highly telepathic, you are all able to channel something. This is how you channel your life. This is how you are alive. Not only because of what you eat and what you drink. You house your soul, the spirit, and the spirit is connected to whatever you call it, the higher self and the trees of souls and the all that is, or whatever you call it, disconnected. That's one of those reasons why you are alive. And at the end of the day, we are partially connected to this tree as well. And so, as we speak, we don't speak in your language, and we don't whisper our thoughts into the vehicle's ears. We are simply using the automatic transmissions, what comes into using language, whatever language the vehicle is able to use. Having said so, we are using their knowledge, their informations, their keywords, if you want, what they are familiar with. You all know the difference between cold or warm, almost the white and black. In terms of those communications, we are using what the vehicle or the other vehicle knows in their mind, what's easiest to recognize two different opposing words. And they need to be strongly charged by energy for us to be able to use them in the proper sentence, in proper meaning. Thus, some of those people who we are in touch with are good in different fields, whether it's herbology, astrology, numerology, or anything else, fixing cars, anything. We find a way how to get our point across by what they know. Do you understand so far? Yes. So let's see who has a first question, comment, or observation. Who would like to share by their own words? Who would like to share their energy with what is happening here right now? Who will be the first one?
It seems to me that on this planet at the moment, things are becoming more and more turbulent and divisive between countries, between continents, and I find it upsetting and depressing. You've been around for a long time, so you see trends. Do we need to be really worried at the moment the way things are going?
Thank you for being the first one, by the way. We always appreciate that. It's always the hardest part to get the ball rolling, as you say. No, the answer is no. You don't need to be worried, but you need to be alert. You need to be aware. But mostly, the main important thing in this question is be aware of what's happening with you. It's one of those easy things to turn on the television and see those and those fighting and those expressing their opinions, their black and white or other opinions. It's about the other country or other person. But what is happening with you is the thing which you can control, which is the thing which you should be most concerned about. From the term of patterns, yes, you are in, from our point of view, the greatest times, because that little can change everything. You are almost walking on the edge of the scale or whatever you want to call it. Just a little bit to the right, a little bit to the left. You're almost walking on the edge. And a very small number of people will at the end make the difference of what you will see in your world tomorrow and the day after. from your point of view, and we do understand it, there's a great confusion what is happening right now. But the main thing is, people actually, for the first time, care. People care, but people are also aware on a global level, or they think they can be aware on a global level. One thing is, where are the information coming from? Who's feeding you? Who's sharing information about what is happening? Or who's presenting you picture in designed form? Never ever before on this planet you've been so close to accessing information about the other, what's happening beyond your borders of your own country, and that creates the confusion. And also all together you are having your we'll use the term very, very lightly, your spiritual awakening. People are asking, why am I here? Why am I here? Why was I born to these two parents? Why me? Why now? What for? Even some couple hundred years ago, people did not ask those questions often. Some always asked, has been always on the table for some. But these days, and the question of identity and global identity is bigger than ever before. What we want to say is, we always say this, but we'll say it again anyway. Mind your own business. And we don't mean it in this disrespectful way. Yes, there are battles and wars and countries fighting other countries. But try to see your life first as the most important thing for you. Not what's happening somewhere else. Even if it's behind the neighbor's wall. You must see your life first. And how you live your life must be the most important thing for you. And how you could live your life slightly bit better or slightly bit worse. There's always the choice, and all of you have the choice. It gets very tricky to be talking about somebody else you don't know, about the country you don't have a connection to, about the country you don't live in. So no reason to be worried and really trying to figure it out for them. And we're not leaving anyone in a war without help. That's never the case. You have on your planet systems and people, and also the non-physical part, which is helping those in need. But you have to respect the rule. Let's say the rule, but it's not really a rule, of course. If you live in a country and there is a war, it's affecting you, and you are part of the energy. But it's a different story to be talking about other countries and other people somewhere else. Did we answer the question?
Yeah. Certainly plenty to think of and very helpful, thank you.
As we said last time, you being in your body, and we don't mean 24/7, because you automatically will be zoning out, or you will be, as it's called, on the autopilot, doing different things. You will not be all the time consciously aware of being in your body and like having the great awareness. But if you are in your body, ask your body how your body feels. about, for example, such issue. It is one thing to be letting your mind running all those programs, which sometimes are programs which are there for a long time, maybe even longer than you are alive. Sometimes you were born into some program mentality, and we don't mean it disrespectful again. That's how cultures are shaped and created. But how do you all together feel about a issue while you are aware in your body? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's very different approach. And we will connect it again to your land, to your country. Even if you live in a country which is not necessarily yours, you were not born in the country, if you somehow call it home, if there is a little patch of green grass and you're able to call it home, just for a moment maybe, then establish yourself on your feet. Be in your body for a moment. Just a moment is enough. Take a deep breath. And let the whole being speak to you as we are right now speaking to you. Let the whole being let you know what your relationship towards the issue or the challenge is. You are stronger than you think, all of you. People in this world often see themselves as small, insignificant. I'm one of the billions. What is it now? 7, 8 billions. It's very easy to drop into such mentality. Or I don't matter. Who am I to say? Who am I to figure something out? But that's one of your legacies, why you are here. That's why you are. We don't quote the Bible often, but some parts of the Bible are taken from other scripts, so we will do it this time. You are your inner goddess or the inner god. Your DNA comes from what used to be gods on your planets. The travelers, the different beings from different worlds. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Thank you for the question. Let's see if anybody else wants to go further with this topic or ask something else or say something else. A comment or observation.
Just when you're talking about being here for hundreds of years or sharing, I'm just wondering about death and dying, and should one be afraid of dying?
No, but you may be. There is a great intention somehow to create the fearful picture of death, the picture of being sick and old and alone, perhaps, and be dying because there is no other choice. Be dying because either your body is failing or your mind is failing, something is letting you down. And even though it might be the case very often, the mindset and the relationship again to death is all that matters. You will die, all of you. How? We'll give you a little moment to ponder about this. There is a great, let's say, plan to see the fear in people about death and about illness and about all sorts of things which are weakening you, or which are seemingly weakening you, and death, or the fear of death, is definitely one of them. Just because you can't go and dip your toe into it and create your own opinion, even though some might have the experience of, for example, near-death experience, and you might read their story about what they experienced. Death is, this sounds cliche in your world, but it is just a door to go somewhere else. And people often think, I'm leaving somebody behind, or I'm leaving something behind, and I can't control when it's going to happen. But that's not always true. When you die, you're never alone. Never die, always, always. Beings who are coming to pick you up. But people very often get confused, and the mindset, when the mindset is twisted, the fear is 1/2 of the death, what's actually killing the body and the mind. Make your own exit plan. You are so powerful, you can do it. We're not saying it will exactly happen as you make it to be for you, but you can ease of the pressure and the fear in your psyche by making your own exit plan. Have you ever wondered how you want to die? No. Because it's fearful. Think about it for a moment. Mm-hmm. You are all going to die. Just for a moment, if you wish, if it's too much for you, just don't listen to us for a moment. But talking about death should be part of life, should be a regular part of life. Not leaving it behind, never ever asking, never ever discussing these important questions with your loved ones. Would they know how you want to die? No. Just imagine the situation, and just for your own sake, everyone, if you wish, see yourself. Are you in your living room sipping a cup of tea? Or are you more likely seeing yourself horrified, afraid, somewhere in a hospital with other people like you? Are you connected to all those machines? Are you being drugged? Is your consciousness altered just for the moment which you experience only once in this body? Are you whatever age? Are you 60? Are you 80? Are you 120 years old? Can you still see when you are dying, or you can't see anymore? Think about how you want to die. Can you feel how your part of your mind, of some of your mind, is resisting the idea or even thinking about such thing as death? make friend with death. It will come anyway. But for your psyche, for the bigger mind, be much more easier to go about day, to do anything, knowing you have your exit plan, and you're not afraid of the death. Because you, on the soul level, know death pretty well. It always came to get you. Not to get you, to grab you from something you were in the middle of. It always came to say hello, you ready? We go now? Or are you fighting against death? Are you imagining yourself holding for dear life, not to die? Let the body tell you right now how you feel towards dying. Maybe not today and maybe not tomorrow, but maybe when you feel ready, think about your exit plan and make one. You can write it down or you can say it out loud. At least say it out loud. Don't leave it in your mind, your unspoken word. Say it to a flower, say it to a pond, or to a bird, or to the sky. Say it when you feel your body alive and vibrating with life and conscious about what you are saying. And say it with proud voice. One day I will die, and the day will be far, far away from now. And the day, at that day, I am there or over there. Or maybe just taking a walk or sitting in my living room, ready, knowing it's coming. And I know I'm ready as well. We both, I and death, will greet each other. There'll be no muss, no fuss. Peaceful, quick death. And I believe my family will know what to do, and they might be there with me. And if they want, somebody else will, and I will never be alone. I will be supported and loved, and I know what to do. I will know because my guides or my soul or my angels or anything will be there for me, and I will be guided, and I will go into the light or into a cloud, white cloud, whatever. Make your own exit plan. How do you feel now about dying?
Yes, fine.
Somebody else the other day asked us if we were living your physical life right now in this reality and this lifetime, let's say, what would we focus on most? And we said 3 things. You are losing. Your world is losing so much from those who are passing away in fear. There is so much in those people who are dying. The lifespan of your life is designed for the old ones to be given huge chunks of their experience back. And it used to be at some stage of your developmental curve, it used to be their way in most places, but you have lost the principles of honoring the oldest and helping them move on. This is what we would focus on as the first thing at this very time. Second thing is with the other spectrum of your people, the young ones. The young ones are taught different values, are confused. In a matter of years, they are confused beyond measure sometimes. They are introduced to technology which they are not ready for. Their minds, their spirits more often are not ready for. And they are learning more to be leaving their bodies than to be in them and to be using them. They are taught to repeat and please others for the sake of gratification. Do you understand? If some of you have the chance of interacting with your children, grandchildren, have a look next time what they do, how they are handling pressure and stress. Did they find any of the personal callings? And we don't mean a job which would turn into a business empire and bring all those things young people want these days. We mean, what do they like? Is it reading? Is it talking to somebody or listening to somebody? Is it colors? Is it sound? What do they like on their own personal level? Do you understand? But as we said before, think first about yourself, because you are the one who matters to you. Alright, somebody else. Did we cover your question well? Did we answer what you were asking about? People always ask about death and what's happening and where do we go and do we get recycled and all these things, but that's our point of view, how we these days like to share our ideas about death. There is no reason to be describing what's happening to you when you die. You will see. You will see. All of you. Alright then. Another question or comment or observation. Who would like to share?
Could I ask, you mentioned about being in our bodies and seeing how our bodies feel about different things.
Yes.
What about moving beyond the body, beyond the mind, in, for example, meditation? What is your view on that?
Yes, but you won't move beyond unless you connect those two or those three, your mind, your body, and perhaps also the land. There is a difference between meditating and zoning out.
Yes.
Do you understand? That's why people who teach meditation or who are like exercising meditation focus on breath or the sensations of the body or the feet. Something. The body must be there if you want to go beyond. But going beyond is, first of all, personal space. So where do you go is not where the others might go. Do you understand? This is very much the soul space. Or if you want to go somewhere between the physical and non-physical, it is the spirit guides, the archetypes, the energies of your psyche, being there helping you all the time. offering their guidance or advice. Do you understand?
Yes, well, I suppose I'm talking about being in the soul space.
Yes. What's the real question, if you don't mind saying? So we feel there is something you want to ask, something more, a bit more specific.
Well, this life is very temporary, you know.
Yes.
We live, we die, and so the soul, I believe, has been here forever and will live forever. So spending time when we are in this physical world, also being in the soul world. At the same time.
You are there at the same time. That's why at the beginning we were mentioning you are channeling the life energy for you to be alive. Everybody and everything alive in your world must be connected somehow to the source, whether it's a plant, animal or being. It is connected if it's alive. But the soul space, that's not your work to do. You haven't been equipped to be living in a soul space. Let us say a few things. The soul space, the idea of the let's say the basic idea of what the soul is choosing to do is happening, first of all, on a way grander level than the one you could comprehend in one lifetime, just as you are saying. It is too short. And second of all, you've been given all those amazing tools and the help to enjoy this life. And yes, when you die, somehow there is a merging of the, let's say, the consciousness from this life with the little bit bigger consciousness of your soul. And then there are decisions. Will I go to try again, or did I have enough? Do I want to experience similar life of patterns, let's say? But this is not your decision, and this is not something you should very much be concerned about. Your soul is doing what it wants to do. Sometimes it changes its mind, let's say, in the middle of your life, and people do experience these things when one day just nothing makes sense and some other things start to make sense a little bit. There's different tastes and different calls and calling, the inner calling. And the inner calling is, if you want, the thing you not should but might be interested in. They are those signs what the soul has either given to you or what the soul needs to get in this lifetime. Do you understand what we are saying?
Yes.
This is your life.
Yes,
and
the idea of,
yes.
let's say, becoming an awakened being or an enlightened being, or in Christian terms, a saint in this life. You know, I suppose that's what I'm asking.
Yes, yes. But this is still within the bubble of your current life. This doesn't go beyond into the soul life. This is to be the awakened being in the body, with the mind. 2 arms, 2 legs, or less, sometimes. This is not a job of the soul. This is, if you are, we have slightly different definitions of the awakened being. Awakened being for us is everything is plugged in and alive. And it's not 24/7. It's not as something you achieve one day and is with you forevermore. You've been given the choice in every given moment to decide where you are. And sometimes it takes amount of time to get you a little bit more ready, let's say, more available to this state you're talking about. But it is something what you see those people every day. You might not realize it all the time, but you see them and you see it in their eyes. And maybe you see it one day there and the day after it's gone. But the idea of awakened life is the idea of being you whole together, but also in that moment. It's easy to lose it, and it's the fun of losing it because you know afterwards you can pick it up again. The awakening is a state of being, not the being itself. Doesn't make any more sense. And maybe even the soul has had many of those experiences before and doesn't need to have it again. We're not saying that this is the call for everyone. That's what you all should be striving for. There are greater, how do we say this, experiences than reaching the awakening or reaching the state. Again, it does sound as a cliche, but it is your journey. It's not about achieving medals or states and we don't mean it directly to you. Does it make sense what we are saying? Mm-hmm. Sometimes people do achieve those states and they think, oh, that's it, that's done. And the day after something happens, something they would never expect to happen. Maybe something bad or something good. But if you think you're there, then most likely you're taking on something else. Did we answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Anybody else now?
What part of the body is most connected to the life force or the channel?
Everything. Are you? Some of you are, but are you somehow familiar with the it's called the auric system, the auric field around your body?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and we don't want to go into these things because it gets tricky at some point. But let's say you have few energetic organs, and they are called chakras, and all these things. And long story short, radiating energy. And let's say some people who can see them, some people can. You see it as layers of onions. And then our question always is, what is actually the very first layer of the auric field? Anyone?
The heart.
No. Once again, loud enough.
Physical there.
The physical, yes. Somebody else the other day said the skin. Yes, the skin. And that's the one we all can feel, and that's the one, the most dense layer of the let's say energetic bubble you're in. And you can also see on the skin how it reacts to what is happening to you. Sometimes you get a rush or something, a spot somewhere, or you feel your skin almost burning hot or burning cold on some part of your body. So your whole body, and but we also mean the whole body, if the spiritual body, let's say, to use your terms, which includes the auric field as well. So don't forget your toes, but don't forget the space you sit in. We always say the space where you can reach with your finger. That's still your space. Well, unless somebody else is sitting close beside you. Learn to feel the space with your body. It is still part of you. People are so much used to feeling their own body, they don't even realize that. The difference between my left toe and my right toe. Is there any difference at all? Do I feel them anyhow different? My shoulders, do I feel them? Do I feel where my shoulder ends and where the air starts? Do you? Do you? Some of you?
Yeah.
It's difficult to see, to feel those parts. You are so much used to being in your body, living, moving in your body, but not actually really being in your body and having the awareness of those aspects of it. Do I feel the space 2 inches above my shoulder? You remember when you are somewhere and there's a few people there, and then somebody is looking at you, and they standing behind you, and you feel them. You feel somebody's looking at you, whether it's a nice person or not so nice person. Or where you're going, when you're going for a holiday, and you think you are there alone, but almost like if somebody was watching you. Perhaps a deer from behind a tree. What about the space under your arms? This is your space, rightfully yours. But people got used to valuing what they can see and what they can touch, which is a natural progression in those days. But to fully answer your question, everywhere in your body, every single cell of your body, if it's alive, it's channeling the energy for life, and it's also getting the nutrition and all those sorts of things. Sometimes you sit beside a person and you feel them, you know you feel them somehow. Did we answer your question?
Yes.
Yes. Who has a comment or question or statement?
You said at one stage that your soul consciousness joins the higher self, the higher consciousness.
They merge.
They merge.
Your consciousness, if we, and this is very difficult way how to describe to you, because we are still describing to your consciousness something what is beyond. But if we would make it a little bit clear, is everything what you've ever been aware in this body, in this lifetime, what you have felt, experienced, thought, what you have seen, what you saw, what you heard, everything, all parts of your life, they create something. Not fully, there are some other parts, some small parts as well, but they add to the grand picture of your consciousness. of you, and most of the time people tend to call the consciousness the name of the I, who I am right now, or who I have been in my whole life. But there is a bridge there, which usually people don't see. You can't see over the bridge. You of course you can, but normally you just wouldn't, because you don't use these muscles in your psyche, unless you're doing a really special work. Somebody was mentioning here, you wouldn't be consciously going over those bridges. And beyond the bridge, there's the bigger picture on the soul level. It includes, of course, the small part as well, but it also sees way beyond. Let's say beyond the timeline, beyond the space. Let's say you have been living here, just for example, in Ireland, but some part of you, and we know it sounds strange, but let's go with the scenario, some part of you lived somewhere else. Or when you die, the soul consciousness is able to see all those things which you are not able to see now. And it will blend together, and that part will create the, let's say, the decision what to do next. Do we go back, or do we start somewhere else? Well, we change the rules a little bit. Well, we live somewhere else there, and with somebody else here. And how about the souls we touched in this very life? They are the things, and I'm sure you've heard about those, even though we will very loosely use the term the soul constructs. The soul constructs of who you're going to marry, and who will fix your car if it breaks, and who's your neighbor, the horrible neighbor, the greatest teacher of them all, and your boss. You've heard of those. So without going into very much unnecessary details, your soul consciousness merging with your own will be able to make decisions of what you want to do next. Does it make sense somehow? But again, we do want to highlight there is not much need for you to be worried about those things. Did we answer your question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who's here who's not asking that question? Yeah, questions to be asked. We can feel the psyche reaching to us.
I have one question.
Well.
Do you send, or do you believe in spirit guides for us in this life?
Oh, they are here. Yes, if you want to us to answer in your terms, we do believe in your spirit guides, and we do send spirit guides. Yes, in this lifetime. Yes. It's how do we put this? One way, which is very helpful, one way of looking at those spirit guides is part of your soul. When you are born, you are going through the process of forgetting. It takes some time, but it is the agreement which has so far been kept on for you to forget, because you don't want to remember. You do not want to remember. When you come in here, you don't want to remember the rest. You don't. So, soul won't leave you alone here, and won't leave you to wait for you to ask your spiritual friend at your work. You have your spirit guides, yes. They could be in a very, very loose term as well. They could be your previous, let's say the previous friends, partners. But when you cross the level of being aware of time, it gets tricky. So we just stay with this simple description. But we still feel we haven't answered the proper question you want to ask about spirit guides.
How do you connect with the spirit guides?
You allow them to connect to you. They are there all the time. Some of them are knocking on your door. If they had a cell phone, they would use one. You allow. And you don't, it very much depends on how a person, for example yourself, but we don't mean to be addressing only one person, how a person is holding themselves in a reality. What's the main thing you as your theme in the reality? Let's say, and this is just an example. If you are more visual, some people are literally imagining them as a floating being, pointing at certain things, pointing at people, and really crossing their fingers with other people over there. Go there, don't go there. No, it doesn't need to be this way, especially when you are somehow starting to allow yourself, your psyche, to be opened to those experiences. It can be a bird knocking on your windowsill, sitting there for hours and hours. It can be a postman. There are often a postman bringing something. It can be somebody saying something meaningless, and later on, hours afterwards, you will realize, it will click in some parts of the synchronicities which are happening all the time here, all the time, very much all the time. You can go through the process of meditation as well. You can use somebody suggested the other day, the automatic writing, if that's what helps you. But you have to be clear to let the connection with your spirit guide. People pick up all sorts of things when they have the general intention to just to connect. You wouldn't do this with a Wi-Fi, so why with the spirit guide? Be mindful and be clear about what you're doing and why you're doing it. What's the thing you want to do? And tell them. They won't really listen to what you're saying because they know anyway, but you are more of the time talking to your own psyche. If you say, it is my intention to connect to my spirit guide and to let him or her or whatever it is come closer to me, and little by little I will see or I will feel, I will become aware. Does it make sense? There are books and exercises, but this is the old teaching, and it's always there. You can always find some way which is very much the way for you. But because there is plenty of us here, we won't go into great details with those ones. Is that okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. At some stage, our vehicle thought he connected to a spirit guide, but we always come as the plural. So he thought he has a group of spirit guides, and it kept growing and growing and growing, and then we just made it clear to him that we're not very much the spirit guides, minding him and his journeys and looking after his lost pen and whatever. make your intention clear, and again use the body as well. It's not going to be bridging your mind or your mind expectations if you just going to expect something and waiting for it to show up in a midair or something. We don't mean necessarily to you. Does it make sense?
Thank you.
One more question or comment or
I have a
statement.
question about choosing a spiritual path. There's just so many paths that one can choose, on the spiritual journey. And some teachers say, if you want to find enlightenment, you have to follow this path and renounce all other paths. And I'm just wondering, what's your view on that?
Without sounding disrespectful, we will be disrespectful anyway. The first part of your, and we do appreciate your courage to come in and say those words, and we do want to point out our main difference. Your first part started, there is so many spirit paths. From our point of view, there's only one. There's only one, and it will sound as a cliche again, which these days in your lifetime it does sound, but you live your life. That's the spiritual path, and it is your choice how you want to live, how you want to experience the walk on the path. As we said before, do you want to have it a little bit easier or a little bit harder? And both choices are valid. Sometimes it's not you choosing it. Sometimes it's... We don't want to blame the soul all the time. It just gets very painful, and the soul and the past life. But sometimes it's your soul. But the question is, do I fight on the path? Imagine it as a walk, rather down the hill than up the hill. Imagine when you're going down a lovely mountain and the weather is nice, and are you fighting against those bushes growing here and the tree over there? And you can, because sometimes you will walk off the path, which is still the path anyway. And you will be fighting against those. And maybe that's what you need, and maybe you're clearing a path for somebody else. Does it make sense? Anyhow, what we are trying to convey.
I guess what I'm trying to say, there's so many different belief systems you can adopt. Are they all leading to the same place?
No. Talking about belief systems, you can adapt some, but you can't adapt all. You can be flexible in your mind, but there is always something inside telling you or allowing you to distinguish between those two or those three. Somebody calls it the inner compass. Somebody calls it the Enki's gift. Some of you know what we are talking about. There's something inside, and we're not talking right now only about the body, but there is something really inside which lets you know. And people often know, even though they don't realize it. They're often aware about whether it's this path or this path, whether this belief system or this activity or this person is, we don't want to say right for them, but whether it is the thing I came here to do, I came here to experience or not. And again, there is nothing wrong with going a little bit against the grain. But belief system is, you are born, you remember this, you are born into a belief system. And before you, for the first time, hear and understand the meaning of what those words mean, belief system, way before that, you have adapted, you have it's been put into you. This is how societies in this world exist, and it's how you base on even the language itself. Once you start processing the language, you are taking on belief system, and you can, of course, you have the power to change it, but we can't fully agree with the segment that you can choose your belief system. You can try, and some of them will work, but some of them will not work. And we're not saying the bad ones will not work. Sometimes the good ones, or the let's say what we would say the good, the helpful beliefs won't work, because they will not fit within what you already have in your belief structure. Just makes sense. Mm-hmm. If there is a structure which is somehow rooted into one of those, I'm not good enough, you can't fit the other proper beliefs in, because they simply will go directly against something what has been there for a long time, what somehow has maybe a stronger voice. But you can try, yes. Belief system is tricky because it's been given, and you are somehow being born into those. Talking about a family, or a town, a country, and in country as well, culture. Have you always had access to drinking water?
Yes.
Yes. There are many those who don't. It's a belief system which is very hard to change. And it all ties together, all ties. We will, and we sometimes do these things, we will ask a question back, is that alright?
Yes.
Why is there a question about a belief system and choosing paths?
I guess it comes down to, as you said, believing what feels right inside, to choose what works for you, rather than, take on someone else's belief system, blindly or without questioning,
yes.
What feels right for me.
Yes.
That's the way to approach it.
Yes. They're very much tied with the first few sentences we have delivered today to you. You don't have to be worried, but be alert. And have your, not so much the guard up, but have your filters up. I hear what I hear, but I will see or feel about it, how it resonates with me. I will be the one who is most of the time unconsciously deciding what's the other shard of the belief system which I allow to be put into my structure or in my mind. Do you understand? It's talking about belief system is very often the work of unconscious and actually discovering what your belief system is. It's one thing to say, I will choose as I believe, I will choose what I believe to. Or what do you already believe to? That's why this is the mind, and when often mind is led to govern the life, it gets tricky and it gets difficult. But you need it at the end of the day. You pay bills, you go shopping, you need to mind this and that. And you do. That's why you have the mind as well. But from our point of view, we see too many people abusing the mind and demanding it to be the governor of the life without any connection to your own very body. Nobody has the access to your body as you do, and you hardly ever use it. Connecting to yourself, connecting to the land as we sat. Do you understand?
Yes.
The mind can be tricked. But how do you trick the body? You can as well, of course. But when you connect those two or three together, it's hard to trick a system which is plugged in. Not impossible though. Does it make sense anyhow?
Yes, thank you.
All right. And if we have a time for one more question, or a comment, or a statement.
I'd really like to ask you, just in the beginning when you started speaking, you spoke about that some of your DNA is here in the earth, if I'm right in what I'm trying to say, and I'd love you to just say a little bit more about that, please.
Thank you for the very, very good question for the end. We will very gently change the statement. It is not in the earth, it's in you. It's in all of you, everybody, every one of you, and it's also one of those reasons why we are able to make this connection on such level to happen. You see, and we don't want to go against your belief system. If anybody has, especially this specific one, but you didn't come from apes. You didn't evolve from a cell which has been swimming in the ocean for billions of years. And then you grew your legs and you decided to go off the water for a day and for 2 and for 3 and you stay for a whole week. You didn't come from those organisms. Very, very long story, very, very long story short. Very long story short. The earth was colonized, as strange as it sounds. Those who came, I want to really make it simple this time. Those who came will use this term very gently, looking to create something. They were like designing something, and then several 100,000 years and there you are. All of you, and this body as well, of course. Yes. What did they use? Let's stay for a moment. Let's not mind who they are and why they come and who they, whatever. What did they use, those colonizers? They partially used what has been already evolved here, which wasn't much, but it was something. Because they needed something from here. You know the description, the Mother Earth. The Mother Earth. Who's the father? If Earth is the mother. The mother provided with something. And let's say it wasn't eggs. It was genes. It was material and genetic structure. Because you have to be able to eat everything what is here. This is your local store, let's say, your planet. And we're not going into those global warming cycles for now, let's say. You have to be able to be fully adapted to this planet, because everything what you eat, what you breathe, what you drink is coming from this planet. That was the reason why there was such importance to use the genetic material from the mother, from your planet, from here. Is literally telling you half of the story. What's the second part of the genetic makeup? It's your fatherhood there. That's those who colonized your earth. They provided from their own bodies the genetic material. And without going into a long story who they are, where they come from, where they are now and what they do now and all those sorts of things, they are beings who traveled a long time in different stars, different galaxies, different places and spaces. And somehow we are, when we were having our body, we were relatives to them. We are coming from the same house, let's say, family house. We are sharing some genes with them. So partially you are carrying our genes right now. That's why it is, relatively speaking, so easy to connect for us in those terms. Because there is something inside, not all of this body, but all of you. Remember us saying you are all psychic and you are all highly telepathic, highly. You can't even imagine. And when somebody again is telling you you're the children of Jesus or any other of those prophets or whoever they were, you are children of young gods. What does that make you to be? That's why we are saying you have to find your inner goddess or inner god in you, because the genes which are there are very much waiting to fire off on a grand level. And it's happening. Look at again we are mentioning some of those young people coming in these days. They are very, very different. They can do different things. They know different things. They know some of those. You look at their eyes and they are 60, 70, 80 years old in their eyes. Because the genes have been somehow touched and fired off. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Somehow.
Absolutely, that's lovely.
You know those quotes. And again, we are referring very gently to Bible. We're not really saying everything what is in Bible is true. But you are those gods and those goddesses. You are because of the mass population and how you are being introduced into your culture, how you are being raised up by your parents and by your society. You tend to, not all of you, but you tend to see yourself as, who am I? Insignificant. Did we answer your question?
Yes, thank you. That was lovely. Thank you.
Yes. And unless there is one more question, we can feel the pull of the energy there, somewhere there. Like if almost somebody is waiting for the right moment to ask something. and maybe not.
Can I ask something
Yes,
again?
yes.
At the very beginning, you spoke about, this sort of generation or this time on earth is about questioning who am I, where did I come from, what's it about, and that. And so I wondered about life purpose,
Yes.
purpose. And that, and your thing, and the and that connection of purpose to soul, to higher consciousness, to life's journey. Really, is there a bigger purpose, or is it that intrinsic sort of inner wisdom that you sort of have referred to? In that sense.
There is a bigger purpose, but because of the way how your world is structured, you are singular beings. Let's say, for example, if you will manage to make it in a comparison picture, we are collective. We are one from many others. That is something let's say if it would even be possible, if you would ask one of us, even though we don't retain the I anymore, if you would ask one of us what the other all of us are thinking, the one would tell you, because the one is connected, one is part of it. But in your case, and we're not saying it's a lower level of consciousness or experience of life. This is what you came here to experience. This is the part what you wanted to do. You wanted to forget, and you wanted to have your own decisions. You know how it is difficult for us to make a decision. It is there or it is not there because we are one. But this is why you have the numerous number of possibilities. Anything. Do you want to be a bad person? Go ahead. Do you want to be a good person? Go ahead. Do you want to be planting trees? Yes, it's fine. Do you want to be cutting them down? It's fine. It's fine. Just so over there. That's all right. There is after all, there is no worse or better from the bigger ground of schemes. You can always say destroying is worse and creating is more, but this is, how do you know? Maybe some things need to be destroyed. This is your own space where you are looking for those moments of whatever is fulfilling you and whatever isn't fulfilling you, because it's also how you find what is fulfilling you. And not to be after that taking all those amazing moments and living them every day. They will be boring. They will be boring. You live your life and things are set already. You coming into a society which is established for several thousands of years. You have parents, you have two parents. Most of the time you have two parents. Some of you don't know them, some of you know them, but you do have two parents after all. And you have all sorts of decisions. But it's about you living the life, not about what you do and what you achieve and what you don't achieve. And people very often get caught up about this. I struggled so much. I should be doing something else. Maybe it's your choice. Sometimes the struggle is needed for something else. You're not going to see the bigger picture of the soul journey. You came here to forget about the soul. Of course you can tap in and touch, and it's great and helpful. But the main thing is you living here in your physical body. everyday life. Everyday life. You don't care about the universe. You don't care about the energies there and who's there and consciousness and the source. All these things are happening anyway. You have here your own life. Is there life purpose? Some people do have life purpose. Maybe it is the idea of looking for life purpose, or maybe it is the idea of not caring about life purpose. It creates more pressure than any help. The whole idea of life purpose, and if it's there, am I wasting my time in this job? Should I find another job then? Should I quit? Yeah. Just don't worry about things. People often tend to be, especially these days, these young people are so much caught up in comparing themselves to the image, not even the person, but to an image of the other, the perception they are getting, whether it is at work or those social medias. What is it? It's just what? It's just leaving your body, being perhaps in your mind, not connecting. I want to be somebody else. Why? Because it sucks being me. Maybe that's what you need for a couple of years, maybe a life. But you always have the choice to decide. And we always have to, we always point this out. Will I live a little bit better, a little bit worse, and that's it. And maybe then things start rolling on either side, or things change and somebody else comes into your life and you totally forget for many years about your life purpose because you just met somebody. And that's okay. We don't have a proper answer about life purpose. Living your life and looking after yourself, minding yourself, being clear on what you want to do when you get up in the morning, what you want to do that day, how you want to feel. You want to feel about yourself and about the others. There is so, especially in this world, there is so many things kind of almost ready for you to help you. We're talking about the spirit guides. We're talking about the soul's journey. We're talking about something inside you, whether it is the DNA or the inner eye, the inner voice. There are things in place, and as we said before, nobody's leaving you alone here to do the hard work on your own. You are supported, very supported, and you are capable of much more than you can imagine. We always leave it in the unimaginable, more than you can imagine. What is it? The thing I cannot imagine. That's the thing you can't imagine. That's how powerful you are. There's nothing wrong to live your own life. Going grocery shopping. Just trying to pick the right couch for your living room. That's the life you came to live. And there are exceptions always. You will see those. But don't get caught up in their story. That's their life. And maybe you'll be there in a couple of years as well. Does that make sense? I'm talking in very general terms, because there is not really a proper way how to tell you this is what you need to do, all of you right now. Do you understand?
Yes. Thank you.
And we will thank you for the interactions, and for also the energies you put all together to create such amazing evening. We have enjoyed this little session, or whatever you want to call it, and we do hope in connecting with a few of you again. And again, our great appreciation for our host. And just give us a few more moments, a few minutes, and we will disconnect